An earthquake in Haiti resumes after this little animation.
This is CNN Breaking News.
I'm Wolf Blitzer. We're here in the Situation Room. We're watching an awful situation unfold in Haiti where there's been a 7.0 earthquake not far, only about 10 or 15 miles from Port-au-Prince, the capital of Haiti. This is a city of 2 million people. 9 million people live in Haiti. It's one of the most highly populated areas in the world. This is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, and we're watching what's going on. I want to bring in John Bellini. He's a geophysicist at the U.S. Geological Survey in Golden, Colorado. Mr. Bellini, tell our viewers here in the United States and around the world what we know about this earthquake. I don't know if Mr. Bellini can hear me. We're going to work to reestablish that connection with him. We have Frank Williams is on the scene for us in Port-au-Prince. He's from World Vision Haiti, but Chad Myers, our severe weather expert, is with us as well. Chad, set the scene for our viewers around the world right now, what we know.
7.0 magnitude earthquake, very, very strong earthquake, not very far from the surface of the earth, Wolf, and that's a problem. Had this earthquake been 100 miles below the surface, this would not be such a large quake. But because the shaking happened and the seam, the break happened so close to the surface, we have a lot of shaking going on. Now, I'm going to leave this map, I'm going to go and I'm going to move ahead, and I can actually show you, just fly through on this Google map, what we're talking about, how rough and how full of terrain this area is. There's our 7.0 right there. Now, it doesn't look very populated, and that's true, but 10 miles away, there is Port-au-Prince with millions of people in here, all the way through this area. Now, continue to look at the topography here. This is a very flat area surrounded by mountains. The mountains continue all the way from east to west, and actually the mountains are created by previous earthquakes. That's why those mountains are there in the first place, Wolf. And this is the populated region here in concrete structures, in structures that aren't going to hold up to a lot of shaking because they are not built to the standards that U.S. buildings would be built in California. Even old standards in California are much better than the newest buildings that are built right now in Haiti. Wolf?
And that's worrisome. You say a 7.0 magnitude earthquake and a 5.9 aftershock. Chad, tell our viewers the aftershock fear, what we could expect in the next hour or so.
There's also been another 5.5 aftershock since that 5.9. What is happening with the aftershocks, and this happened in Italy a lot. Remember the Italian quake that we had about a year ago, or maybe a little bit less. The big quake happened, and structures were damaged, significantly damaged, but not falling down. And then the shocks, a 5.9 aftershock is a fairly large quake in itself. We call it an aftershock because it is after a larger quake. But a 5.9 would do significant damage to Port-au-Prince all by itself. So now all of a sudden you have structures that have cracked, and then you get another 5.9 earthquake, and then a 5.5 earthquake. Structures that have only cracked are still falling down after these secondary quakes have hit. And what I heard a little bit ago, you talked about how one of the eyewitnesses said the whole city was covered in dust. That means concrete has been shattering, and concrete slabs are collapsing. That's where that dust is coming from. And it's a catastrophic situation. That's the only word that I can put right now. And it's dark. People can't see where they're going. We don't have any sunlight there. You know, it's already after 6 o'clock. We're late in the evening compared to what you might see in California. You look outside, it's still light. It's not light here anymore, and probably a lot of power off as well, Wolf.
You know, there's one thing I want you to explain, Chad, to our viewers, and we're learning even as we go along. This had a depth, this earthquake of 5 miles, yes. A depth only about 10 miles west of the capital of Port-au-Prince. When you hear it as a depth, the earthquake of 5 miles, what does that mean?
It means that there wasn't a lot of rock or crust to be able to cushion the quake. So your shaking now is very close to the surface of the earth. If we were to take this and we take it three-dimensionally, and we would move this quake another 100 miles down below the surface, there would be I know it's rock and dirt, but there would be cushioning. There would be less of a shake at the surface than compared to the violence that happened only 6 miles below the surface, and then that translates straight up to the surface. We talked about this a little bit earlier, and I'm sure people are just joining us. 2 types of waves happened from this earthquake. A P wave, which is like a chain reaction car event where the front car gets hit because somebody drove into the back car, that moved this car, that moved this car, and this car was the movement on this car was called a P wave. Then something like taking a slinky and putting it on a table and shaking it back and forth, that's what's going to happen next. The secondary wave, the S wave, looks literally like an S. And when the earth moves like this, buildings can't handle it. A quick jolt and the buildings shake and then they stop shaking. But when the earth shakes back and forth in this direction, the buildings can't handle it, and especially buildings that might get what's called harmonic motion, they can't handle it at all, and they fall straight to the ground, and they slab one piece of concrete roof or roof, ceiling, floor, whatever it might be. We know about the hospital that was collapsed. That is one after another, and it pancakes down right on top of the surface. And that's where we lose the most people.
One more question, Chad, before I let you go. An analyst from the U.S. Geological Survey, Dale Grant, is quoted by the Associated Press right now as saying this 7.0 magnitude earthquake is the largest quake recorded in the area. He said the last strong quake in this area was a magnitude 6.7. That was back in 1984. Give us some perspective on the difference between a 6.7 and a 7.0. It doesn't sound like it's significant, but it is.
It is different, and the 6.7 was deeper, therefore a little bit more cushion, a little bit less shock at the surface. But the magnitude, it's difficult to do it. And I'll give you a website. It's usgs.gov, G-O-V. It will explain how magnitude is different from Richter scale. Back years ago, we always talked about the Richter scale. This is not a Richter scale number anymore. This is called a magnitude 7.0. Not that it changed very much and how much shaking is going on, but it changes a little bit on how you stack 6.7 compared to 6.8, which is one magnitude bigger, to 6.9, and then to 7.0. So you're shaking almost 6 times more shaking between a 6.7 and a 7.0, that you're talking one little bit deeper than the other. So it's hard to imagine unless you're living in California and you have experienced these quakes, because in the East, like you and me, we haven't really experienced these day after day after day. But a 6.7 is significantly less powerful than a 7.0, and that's what they have here. It's a major quake.
It is a major quake, and it's a very disturbing quake coming in this highly populated area, only about 10 miles from Port-au-Prince. Wycliffe John is joining us on the phone right now. He's from Haiti. He's the recording artist. You go there often, Wycliffe. Tell our viewers what you're hearing from your friends in Haiti right now.
Well, how you doing, Wolf? You was just on the phone with my uncle, Ray Joseph, the ambassador to Haiti and Washington. Of course, I had to get on. I was on the phone with someone in Haiti when the quake actually took place, and their last words were, I think we were just hit with the earthquake. Since then, it's been hard to get connections on the ground. I do have a television station on the ground, so I'm hoping that within the next 3 or 4 hours that I can get some footage to you guys. But I wanted to get on the phone to express my concerns for the Haitian people and the fact that we're going to need immediate aid, and we're going to need the United States and the international community to react immediately. This is the worst devastation that we as Haitian people have faced.
And Wycliffe, the world is going to have to respond with emergency supplies, with water, with food, with medical supplies, and it's going to have to respond with money as well, because you well know that this is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, one of the poorest countries in the world, one of the most densely populated areas, and to have a 7.0 magnitude hurricane hit this area, I get chills just thinking about the potential destruction, the damage, the loss of life, and we don't know yet. We can only pray that it's not as bad as I fear, but it sounds like it's going to be pretty awful.
Yeah, I mean, for everybody that's tuned in, my main concern is that Port-au-Prince, which is the capital, is overpopulated. So we're talking about over 2 million people, like my uncle said, in a place that was designed for 50,000 people. So, and you're talking about a quake within, what, 10 miles, right?
Right.
So we're talking about major devastation. We're talking about a traffic of at least, 20 to just 30,000 people that's constantly just roaming the streets up and down.
Wycliffe, hold on for a moment. Chris Lawrence is our correspondent over at the Pentagon. He's getting some new information. Chris, what are you picking up?
Well, Wolf, one of the things that concerned us here was when Chad mentioned earlier that there was a danger not only to Haiti, but to some of the surrounding countries as well, specifically Cuba. And we know there is a tremendous U.S. presence there in Cuba. It's also where the Guantanamo Bay Detention Center is. We just got off the phone with the folks down there. They said they definitely felt the earthquake in Cuba, but that no U.S. troops were harmed. There was no damage to any of the detention facilities where a lot of those prisoners are being held. And we're also told that the tsunami warning that had been in effect for Cuba expired just about 10 minutes ago. So they think they're in the clear now for the tsunami. What we're doing now is trying to make some calls to figure out exactly what U.S. Navy ships may be in any sort of range of Haiti and that part of the world, trying to figure out what assets the U.S. military may have. We just heard the ambassador make that plea, that public plea for help from the United States. Once that request would go through the State Department, there is precedent for the U.S. military going in to help Haiti. You know, just about a year and a half ago, September 2008, Haiti was ravaged by these torrential rains and mudslides. The U.S. Navy diverted the USS Kearsarge from Colombia to Haiti, and the personnel then proceeded to deliver more than 3 million pounds of water, food, international aid. They were even able to use some of the medical facilities on board the ship to help treat some of the injured there. So it just gives you an idea of the versatility of some of the assets that the U.S. Navy has and could potentially bring into play. Wolf?
The U.S. Army's 10th Mountain Division back in 1994, Chris, sent about 3,000 troops into Haiti at that time. I remember going in with them at that time to cover that story during the Clinton administration. So there is precedent of the U.S. military going in to assist in a humanitarian situation. CNN's Michael Holmes is watching what's going on over at the international desk at the CNN Center. Michael, update our viewers here in the United States and around the world. We have all of our assets here at CNN now working this story.
Yeah, I've got to tell you, Wolf, I came off my show on CNN International about half an hour ago. We came up here during the show. It was going crazy around here. When breaking news happens like this is the nerve center here, the international desk. We've got our director of coverage there, Roger Clark. He's trying to organize crews to get down. I may even be going tomorrow. Crews to get down to Miami, to get across the Dominican Republic, get into Haiti. It's not easy. The airport is closed, looking at a bunch of different options. And all of our workers here are working all sorts of things from the internet to, I think Talia had the streaming version of the television station in Port-au-Prince. We couldn't make out much. There were people talking on it, but it was difficult. It's right here. James, come around. We'll bring our shooter in here. This is streaming audio from the television station in Port-au-Prince. Well, it's been very difficult. We've got French speakers here. It's been very difficult to make out precisely what they're saying, but you can certainly tell from the tone of voice there's some pretty distressed sounding people there. Now, we'll just listen for a sec. Yeah, now, we're keeping an ear on this. Nothing significant has come information-wise from listeners, but it's just one of the many sources that get worked here at the international desk. In fact, I'm probably in the way here a little bit because this place is going nuts here at the moment. We're trying to get things organised, get French speakers in place, of course, to go down there and work with our crews. And just the logistics of getting there are very difficult when you've got a country that is obviously having infrastructure issues after an event like this. Just getting on the ground's an issue. It's a logistical nightmare, certainly for us as reporters and journalists to try to get in. But you can only imagine, Michael Holmes, what it must be like for the 9 or 10 million people who live in Haiti right now, and there are many more who live in the Dominican Republic that share that island with Haiti. And by all accounts, we're getting in
People could feel the earth shake in the Dominican Republic as well. This is a huge earthquake that we're watching right now, and the devastating, the damage. The reports are only just beginning to come in of people hearing screaming and shouting and panic in the streets of Port-au-Prince. Now, as it gets dark there, it's only going to further complicate search and rescue operations, as you well know, Michael, having covered these stories over the years.
Yeah, and one of the problems, as you've been touching on, Wolf, here, you're talking about a third world country. This is a country that needed help with or without an earthquake, I can tell you that. You're talking about buildings that are substandard in terms of withstanding something like this. You're talking about an economy that's pretty much shattered. I know you're talking to Frank Williams earlier from World Vision. People like World Vision are in and out of there all the time. We're understanding the U.S. military may be going in to try to assist too at some point, trying to get some more information on that at the moment. There's going to be a lot of need for a lot of aid groups down there. This is the country, I don't know if you remember, it was only, I think it was last year when they had enormous amount of rain there. Deforestation's been a big issue there. There was all sorts of mudslides. This is a country that is really suffering at its very core. And something like this is the last thing it needs. Well,
yeah, let me just reread what this U.S. agriculture official who's visiting Port-au-Prince told the Associated Press because it's chilling. This is an eyewitness who's there. Everybody is just totally freaked out and shaken. Henry Bond says the sky is just gray with dust. He said he was walking to his hotel when the earth began to shake. I just held on and bounced across the wall. I just hear a tremendous amount of noise and shouting and screaming in the distance. He says walls have collapsed. Rubble and barbed wire are all over the place right now. We're going to continue our coverage of this breaking story. We'll take a quick break, resume our coverage here in the Situation Room right after this.
This is CNN Breaking News.
When you hear a click, you know it's closed and secure. That's why Hefty food bags click closed.
Hefty, hefty, hefty.
So you know you've helped lock in freshness and lock out air to help prevent freezer burn. Be sure it's secure with Hefty food bags. Just one click and you know it's closed.
Hefty, hefty, hefty.
Are you one of the millions of Americans who watch their retirement accounts suffer? One of the most effective ways to protect your IRA or inactive 401k is by backing it with physical gold and silver. At Merit Financial, our expert staff has helped thousands of Americans learn more about gold-backed IRAs. It's not too late to take control of your retirement. Call the number on the bottom of your screen now to learn about Merit's exclusive IRA offer. Our experts will walk you through the simple process and complete the forms for you to review and approve. We'll even offer you preferred pricing as an IRA customer. Take back control of your financial future with a conservative investment that makes sense. Call the number on the bottom of your screen now to learn why thousands of investors are turning to gold to protect their retirement. If you call now, we'll even send you a free gold coin with qualifying investments. So call this number today to take advantage of this limited time offer. Remember the Merit Guarantee, the right gold at the right price, right away.
Rebuilding America's economy will take energy from all sources. And here's some good news. Increased production of domestic oil and natural gas will also create well-paying jobs, drive our 21st century economy, and generate more than $1 trillion for federal, state, and local budgets. Money for better schools, public safety, and community needs. Maybe that's why most people support putting more of America's oil and natural gas to work. For Americans. Log on to learn more.
Being able to meet when you want allows you to do a lot more with your day.
I go running with the dogs, and then I do most of my meetings in my running clothes.
You can just be working on it at the same time, and you don't have to be in the same place.
It allows you as a business to be more flexible. Just allows you to do more with less.
Put meetings in their place with GoToMeeting. With one click, GoToMeeting lets you hold online meetings from anywhere. Everyone in your meeting can give presentations and sales demos, edit documents, and collaborate in real time, whether on a PC or a Mac. Hold unlimited online meetings with integrated phone and VoIP conferencing for just $49 a month.
I started GoToMeeting, and now everybody's looking at the same document.
We're able to have the kind of informal dialogue with the clients that is like being there.
I use GoToMeeting to reinvent how we do business.
GoToMeeting lets you do things that otherwise you just wouldn't do.
We just couldn't function without it.
Try GoToMeeting free today. Visit GoToMeeting.com and use promo code TV. This is CNN Breaking News.
We're following the breaking news out of Haiti, a 7.0 earthquake, about 10 miles the epicenter from the capital of Port-au-Prince, a city of some 2 million people. Nearly 10 million people live in this small, impoverished country in the Caribbean. We're watching what's going on. The news not very encouraging right now. We're getting a lot of reports from eyewitnesses in Port-au-Prince and elsewhere in Haiti of people screaming, crying out for help. We're going to go there in just a moment. There's another breaking news story we're following right now as well involving Google in China. I want to bring Jean Reserve in to tell us what's going on. Jean, tell us about this.
Oh, Wolf, I have in front of me a blog post from David Drummond. He's the chief legal officer of Google. It says that in mid-December, Google came under a very sophisticated cyber attack. They did lose some intellectual property, but their investigation suggests that the primary goal of the attackers was to gain access to the Gmail accounts of Chinese human rights activists. They do not believe it was successful, but in the course of the investigation, they discovered that those human rights activists' emails were being accessed via phishing scams and malware placed in their computers. They also discovered that 20 other large companies had come under similar attacks. They believe that these attacks originate in China. They say they want to talk with the Chinese government about conducting an uncensored version of their search service in China. Right now, you know, it is censored. They want to talk to the Chinese about uncensoring it. They say if the Chinese don't agree, they may have to shut down their business in China. Major development. Wolf? That
would be the retaliation from Google, the threat that they're making to the government of China. Is that right?
That's absolutely correct. This is known as Google.cn. It is the censored version. They agreed to do this there. The only country in the world where they do this in order to give the Chinese people some access to wider information. But apparently Google is saying here, enough's enough. If you're going to stage these attacks, we're going to have to look at the possibility of shutting down completely.
All right, Jean, thanks very much. Let's get back to the other breaking news. We're following this earthquake in Haiti, a 7.0 magnitude in only about 10 or so miles from the capital of Port-au-Prince. Dr. David Wald is joining us now from the U.S. Geological Survey in Golden, Colorado. Dr. Wald, what's the latest that you're getting on this earthquake and the aftershocks that are coming in?
Well, as you mentioned, we have a magnitude 7 earthquake that's very shallow, and therefore it could be very damaging. It occurred about 4:53 local time in Haiti, and as you mentioned, just south of the capital, Port-au-Prince, so it's extremely populated. And our concern is that an earthquake this size and shallow will have extremely strong shaking, and with the population exposure so high and the high vulnerability of the structures that are built in that area, that we should probably have some significant casualties from this earthquake.
We're all fearful of that. What, if anything, can you tell us about this tsunami advisory, the tsunami warning for this whole coast area in the Caribbean?
One thing you asked about was aftershocks. There's a magnitude 5.9 that followed a few minutes later, and a magnitude 5.5 earthquake about 15 minutes later. As far as tsunami goes, this earthquake was strike-slip, which means it's horizontal motion and very little uplift of the ground. Typically, tsunamis are generated by offshore earthquakes that uplift the ocean bottom. So this is not that particular type of earthquake that's typically associated with tsunami. That said, there could be shaking that causes landslides nearby that would induce tsunamis themselves.
People, Dr. Wald, say that they felt the earth shake in the Dominican Republic, which shares this island with Haiti. How far out would you expect a 7.0 magnitude to be felt?
Well, we have reports on a map online that shows all of Hispaniola, so Dominican Republic and Haiti, are widely felt, and it's also felt in Jamaica, Cuba, and even in the looks like the Virgin Islands. So it's widely felt throughout this part of the Caribbean.
And what about South Florida?
We could check very quickly. I haven't seen reports from Florida at this point.
All right, I want to bring Chad Myers into this conversation, Dr. Wald. He's our severe weather expert. Tom Foreman is here as well. I know both of them have some questions to ask you. Let me start with Chad.
I just want you to explain to our viewers what strike slip is and how it's different from an uplift or from what we had at Banda Aceh, where the land went down and the entire big part of the plate lifted up and displaced that water. Describe how that strike slip works.
Well, we're always concerned with the recent history of particular earthquake is what we call strike slip, which means two faults are going side by side or on land. The devastating tsunamis that have occurred in Indonesia that went near lifted the coast. That uplift of the coast causes a tsunami. So here it's again horizontal motion, and the main story here is not tsunami but shaking. It's very proximal to the population of Port-au-Prince. The strong shaking and the vulnerable structures will lead to the devastation, in this case, and not tsunami.
Tom Foreman, go ahead. I know you have a question for Dr. David Wald as well.
Sure. David, let me ask you this question. When you talk about a slip type of earthquake, though, the damage is pretty much extensive either way you look at it, correct? Whether it's an upward heaving of the ground or sideways, buildings, particularly in a poor area like this, tend to suffer to a tremendous degree anyway.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. The source, the trouble with the strike slip fault is that it can be very close to a population. Typically, the other faults, the thrust faults that cause tsunamis, tend to be offshore and deeper beneath the population. So this can be very close to the population, which means the shaking is actually stronger from a strike slip fault if you are proximal to that fault. And we fear that that's the case here. It's only about 10 miles south of the main population center, and there's a very densely populated area to start with, right near the fault.
We are told, Dr. Wald, that this quake was felt at the U.S. Naval Base at Guantanamo Bay in Cuba, which, as you know, is in the western part of Cuba. This should not be a surprise, should it?
No, that's right, and I see that report online, as well as Jamaica, which is slightly further to the west. So that's a very wide area and several hundred miles of felt area. And of course, as you get closer to the epicenter, particularly in southwestern Haiti, the shaking level that would be experienced would go up higher and higher and higher. And in the capital area, it's extremely strong shaking.
We're told by a spokesman from for the U.S. base at Guantanamo Bay, they did feel it, but there have been no injuries to troops or any injuries to detainees, but they did feel it on the western part of Cuba there, where Gitmo, the U.S. Naval Base at Guantanamo, is based. Go ahead, Chad. I know you have another question for Dr. Wald.
We talked a little bit earlier about how the S wave, how the side-to-side motion can really be devastating to these buildings that don't have a lot of support and are not certainly made to our California regulations. Would a strike slip cause more of the S wave, or would the thrust cause more of that kind of damage?
In general, the strike slip would cause slightly more, but the real issue, again, is how close you are to the fault. And in this case, there'll be very strong horizontal motion. And as you mentioned with structures, while they're meant to withstand strong forces vertically, when you shake them horizontally, they have very little resistance, and then the weight of the roof will bring the structure down. So that's the main concern in this particular area. And there are probably a dominant construction practice here is unreinforced concrete blocks or brick type constructions. And those, if they're unreinforced as they are, for instance, in California, they're reinforced. Unreinforced concrete blocks, when given a horizontal shake, will tend to collapse very easily.
Dr. Wald, I don't know if you have to rush off. I just want to alert our viewers that we're just getting a statement in from President Obama. Dan Lothian is over at the White House. Dan, the president is now weighing in.
That's right. The White House very much on top of the situation going on in Haiti. The president putting out a statement a short time ago saying, quote, "My thoughts and prayers go out to those who have been affected by this earthquake. We are closely monitoring the situation and we stand ready to assist the people of Haiti." Now, just a little background information here from White House aides. The president found out about the situation in Haiti, was informed at 5:52 p.m. He asked staff members to make sure that all embassy staff were okay and to make sure that any humanitarian assistance that needed to go to them would be coordinated. Also, top aide saying that the State Department, USAID, and the United States Southern Command have began working to assess the situation there and to figure out whether or not any assistance will be given there. So the White House, of course, on top of the situation, the president monitoring it as well from here, Wolf.
And we heard the Haitian ambassador here in Washington appeal right here on CNN to not only the U.S. State Department, to the entire U.S. government, but to governments all over the world for assistance right now. That was the ambassador, Raymond Joseph. The Miami Herald reporter Jackie Charles is joining us on the phone right now. She spent a lot of time in Haiti. Jackie, what are you learning? What are you hearing from folks in Haiti right now?
Well, we're still trying to get through because all the communications is down. But I did recently speak to the Consul General, who spoke to the First Lady, who said that part of the National Palace, which is the equivalent of our White House, has collapsed. And the president is safe, but they are trying to get to a safe place. I also spoke to a source who was on the telephone with his wife about 2 hours ago as this earthquake was taking place. And she spoke about houses crumbling and the mountains also crumbling. So at this point, we're still trying to get some additional information in terms of casualties and the extent of the damage.
Does the Miami Herald have anyone in Haiti right now, Jackie?
We have people en route to Haiti as we speak, and we also have a stringer on the ground, but because the communications are all down, we cannot get through to anyone at this moment.
That's the problem. Communications are really, really hard. It's almost impossible, in fact, to establish communications with a lot of folks in Port-au-Prince right now, and it's dark in Haiti right now. It's 6:30 on the East Coast, 6:30 in Port-au-Prince in Haiti as well. And this is a very, very tenuous situation. For viewers just tuning in, a 7.0 magnitude earthquake has hit Haiti a couple hours or so ago. There have been two aftershocks, a 5.9 and a 5.5. This is a very, very densely populated area. The epicenter only about 10 miles or so from the capital of Port-au-Prince. Haiti is reaching out to the world right now for assistance. The U.S. government, you just heard Dan Lothian reporting from the White House, President Obama saying the United States stands ready to assist the people of Haiti in this crisis situation. Deb Farrick is joining us. She's been speaking to folks over at the Red Cross. Deb, what are they telling you?
Well, the folks over at the Red Cross are telling us that, in fact, they're trying to get in touch with their people on the ground. They have 3 people in the Port-au-Prince area. They cannot get in touch with them. They're trying both the landlines, obviously. I asked about cell phones. They're looking into that right now. They said that they are ready to open up Panama's warehouse. There's a warehouse in Panama that has a lot of supplies. It's got cots, cooking supplies, basic items that could help some of these folks get back on track. Also, they've released $200,000 in support of this relief effort that's likely to come. I've been trying to reach people who I know they're on the ground, also unsuccessful, trying to get in touch with them. As you've been mentioning, Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, and one thing to keep in mind is that millions live in these ramshackle slums, menial laborers who live really on collapse-prone hillsides. So that's obviously a big concern there. If you remember, about 2 years ago, there was a school that collapsed. That launched sort of a building probe, the president calling for a review of construction, citing lax labor guidelines, saying that the folks there just really are ignoring all the building guidelines, so that could play a big role in the extent of the devastation, Wolf.
All right, Deborah Farrick, stand by. I want you to stay in touch with folks over at the Red Cross, other agencies, humanitarian relief organizations, to get some more information. Haiti's going to need a lot of support right now in the aftermath of this earthquake. Dan Rogers is joining us on the phone now from Haiti. Is Ian Rogers, excuse me, Mr. Rogers. You're from Save the Children. Are you in Port-au-Prince right now?
Yeah, that's correct. I am in Port-au-Prince.
All right, so walk us through what you have seen and heard over the past hour or two as word of this, as you felt this powerful, this very powerful earthquake.
Okay, yes, we happened to be in the office at the time when the earthquake happened. It was significant and shook our office, which is a large concrete building, which is 2 to 3 stories high. Of course, immediate reaction was to get into the doorways. As soon as it left, we had to evacuate all of our staff. Thankfully, none of our staff have been injured in the office. However, our compound is probably built better than most structures in this area. Around our compound, multi-story houses have fallen down and slid down hills and slides. All of the roads at the moment are blocked because a lot of the Port-au-Prince is built on the mountainside, and so retaining walls and earth has over those roads. And unfortunately now it is dark.
And so you can only imagine what's going on. Do you have any initial reports of casualties, deaths, and injuries, Mr. Rogers?
No, unfortunately, we haven't been able to get any information per se. We have been in contact with our staff who had left. Some staff had left for the day, and we are trying to gather information now. Staff who has now tried to leave the compound had to return. There was another subsequent aftershock, which was significant and is bringing down extra earth and landslides onto the road. So it's unsafe to move at this moment in time. What I can hear is very distressed people all around in the neighbourhood that we are in. There is a lot of distress and wailing of obviously people trying to find loved ones who are trapped under building and rubble.
All right, so you're basically hearing a lot of screaming and wailing. Under normal circumstances in Port-au-Prince, and I've been there, the emergency rescue operations, hospitals, it's all very, very, I guess third world would be a positive description. It's not good even under normal circumstances. I can only imagine, Mr. Rogers, what's happening right now.
That's correct. I mean, obviously, the Haitian authorities will be trying to respond the best that they can, but all power seems to be out in Port-au-Prince. It is obviously very dark at the moment. There are some houses lit up that are obviously using their own generator. We ourselves, as a compound, have our own generator. Of course, we can't enter our office because now there is a significant amount of water that has spilled in the office, and we're unsure whether or not there is live cables that are broken in the office. But yeah, I can only imagine that the response is going to be very difficult for the Haitian authorities. Obviously, there is a UN presence here. They are going to obviously try to respond as quickly as possible. But unfortunately, now that it is dark, as you're aware, Haiti does face security issues. So it is going to be difficult to try and do any assessments and see what happens until daylight.
This is a very, very tenuous time. It's now dark. It's night in Haiti right now, and power is off, and there are 9 or 10 million people in Haiti who are in danger even as we speak. Ian Rogers of Save the Children, if you could stay put for a moment. Michael Holmes is at the CNN Center in Atlanta. He's working this story for us together with all of our CNN resources. Update our viewers, Michael, in the United States and around the world right now on the new information that's coming into CNN.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a bit of an interview in a moment with somebody who is Haitian, and I'm going to get to that in a second. But
1 second, because I think we have an audio issue with your microphone over there. I just want to clear it up because there's a lot of interference coming in. Can you hear it? Can you hear me okay? No, unfortunately, we can't hear you. We're going to fix your audio. Michael, stand by for 1 moment. Chad Myers, our severe weather expert, is with us as well. Chad, just for those viewers who are tuning in right now here in the U.S., in the Western Hemisphere, around the world, we're watching an earthquake. The reaction to this earthquake, it's pretty heartbreaking when you think about what's happening in the streets of Port-au-Prince and elsewhere in Haiti right now.
Let me set the scene a little bit, because we're not talking about building standards that we're talking about in California. We're talking about unreinforced concrete block structures. Think of cinder blocks piled on top of each other with a little bit of mortar in between if you're lucky, and then a roof on top of that building. And that's what most of these buildings are like, especially then we get a little bit farther to the west or to the southwest of Port-au-Prince. I am looking in the direction from downtown Port-au-Prince right here. We are looking into the direction of where the earthquake happened. That was about 10 miles miles away. I'm going to kind of flatten it out a little bit because we were talking about the topography. Can you see the mountains here? Those mountains are the part of, because they were caused by the earthquake, an earthquake long time ago because of the collisions here, but also they're also part of the shaking process that has gone on today. I know this could be a very difficult map to see. I'm going to try to point out what I can. Haiti, right here, Port-au-Prince right there, only 10 miles from that big city, from that big capital. This is from usgs.gov. You can go and look at this yourself. How many people saw X? 10 for extreme shaking. That would be 3K. 3,000 people felt extreme shaking, probably casualties at about 50%. And then violent shaking, 1.849 million people felt violent shaking. Another million felt severe shaking, and then another 500,000 felt very strong shaking. Wolf, this is going to be something that we're going to talk about. I'm sure we're going to be here all night long. This is a devastating event for the people of Haiti, for the people around this town, because now we had for a while tsunami watches, and I wasn't so worried about tsunamis with this because for two reasons. It wasn't a tsunami-type earthquake. Tsunami-type earthquakes happen when you get the crust of the earth like this, butting up against another piece of crust here. As this go down through a subduction zone, this piece bends a little bit and then pops up. And when that part of the crust pops up, that's what pushes all this water up and causes the wave. This is not quite that. This is a slip strike, which means part of the earth is going that way, part of the earth going that way, and it slips a lot like what we have in California. And the slipping causes two types of waves, an S wave and a P wave. And after the break, Wolf, we'll talk about how both of those could affect the people there of Haiti.
All right, Chad, I want you to stand by because we're going to get right back to you. We're going to go back to Port-au-Prince. We're also getting some new details right now about an American Airlines flight, the last flight of the day, scheduled to leave Port-au-Prince for the United States. And new information just coming in about the nearly 200 passengers who were about to take off. This plane was not able to take off. Stand by. We'll take a quick break. Continue our coverage of the breaking news. An earthquake strikes Haiti when we come back.
This is CNN Breaking News.
My name is Chef Michael, and my dog Bailey and I love to hang out in the kitchen so she can watch me cook. You just love the aromas of beef tenderloin and, oh, rotisserie chicken. Yes, you do. Yeah, you're so special, you deserve a very special dog food.
Chef Michael's Canine Creations. The deliciously different way to serve up your love at mealtime. Chef-inspired, dog-desired. Chef Michael's Canine Creations.
Could switching to Geico really save you 15% or more on car insurance? Does Charlie Daniels play a mean fiddle?
That's how you do it, son.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
At the doctor, in the drugstore, in the hospital, and in your paycheck. They are hidden, but you'll pay. New hidden taxes that Congress wants on your health care. Hidden health care taxes on medicines, medical devices, and health insurance. Hidden health care taxes in the middle of a deep recession. Call Congress. Tell them no hidden health care taxes in a recession.
Hello, can anybody hear me? I know. I should have gone to freecreditreport.com. That's where I should have gone. Could have got my knowledge on.
Free credit score and report with enrollment and triple advantage.
CNN Tonight, the 360 Crystal Ball. Leaders in science, health, arts, technology tell Anderson Cooper what's next for the coming decade. CNN Tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern.
Long-term use of Reglan, a medication used to treat reflux, has been linked to tardive dyskinesia. Symptoms of TD are involuntary movements of the extremities, lip smacking, grimacing, or tongue protrusion, rapid blinking, or impaired movement of the fingers. If you or a loved one has taken Reglan and been diagnosed with tardive dyskinesia or has these symptoms, call 1-800-BAD-DRUG. You may be entitled to compensation for your injuries. Call 1-800-BAD-DRUG for a free confidential consultation.
Here's important news for taxpayers. Do you owe more than $15,000 in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take your home or your wages? Is your business way behind on payroll taxes? Then call tax relief specialists right now to immediately stop wage garnishments, lift liens on your property, and cut your tax bill by 50 to 90%.
Call 1-800-947-0974 now for your free tax consultation. Again, that's 1-800-947-0974. Call now.
When the weather is the news, CNN is there.
This is CNN Breaking News.
A 7.0 earthquake in Haiti causing extensive damage. We don't know casualties. We don't know deaths. We don't know injuries. A lot we don't know. It's dark in Haiti right now. We do know there has already been a series of aftershocks. Ian Rogers is on the phone with us. He's joining us from Port-au-Prince. He's from Save the Children. I take it, Ian, you've just felt another aftershock?
Yeah, there was just probably 3 or 4 minutes ago, there was another aftershock. It was not as large as what we've have had, but obviously the concern is with any aftershock that anything that's tenuously hanging on as a building there's nothing. So the situation here is still very dire and still very dangerous for the population and anybody who is in a building or anybody who's trying to do rescue at the moment, which must be very, very difficult in the dark.
I know that the earthquake was measured at a 7.0. The first aftershock was a 5.9, the second a 5.5. I'm sure that this one is a little bit less. Are you still hearing a lot of wailing and screaming and cries for help from folks at Port-au-Prince?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes, I am. I mean, just outside where our office compound is, there are clearly people that are under a great deal of distress and trying to work out what to do. As you can imagine, it being dark, getting afterquakes, and having people trapped. People are in a great deal of stress. All the roads currently are blocked. We're trying at the moment. The only vehicle that we think we'll be able to get through anywhere is by motorcycles. So we're just preparing those vehicles because currently our four-wheel drives won't even make it through, and it's too dangerous with the roads slipping off the sides of the mountain.
Save the Children, Ian Rogers, your work just got a whole lot more important, even more important than it already has been in Haiti. Save the Children doing important work, but now there's a lot of children at risk right now in the aftermath of this large earthquake in Haiti. I'm going to have Ian Rogers stand by. He's on the scene for us in Port-au-Prince right now. Deborah Farrick is joining us. Deb, that American Airlines flight that had been scheduled to leave Port-au-Prince for the United States, tell our viewers what we know.
Well, what we're being told right now is that there was a Miami-bound flight on American Airlines. People were boarding that plane when the earthquake hit. The plane remains on the ground, and right now they're trying to assess whether, in fact, the runways are even operational. This is at the Toussaint Louverture International Airport. It was to be the last international flight out. An analyst with the agency that monitors these quakes says that there is likely to be substantial damage and casualties because there already have been several aftershocks. Also monitoring the wires, we see that Haiti's Consul General says that he is frantically trying to get in touch with his ministry. He cannot even get in touch with them. He says it is, quote unquote, mind-boggling. So right now, everybody trying to figure out exactly what is going on there on the ground. And that's very obviously upsetting for the folks who have relatives there who can't get through to find out exactly whether they're alive or dead, Wolf.
And we don't know the state of the runways at that airport, whether they have collapsed in the process as well, if they're operational or not operational. We might not know for some time.
And that's going to hamper some rescue operations, obviously, because a lot of people that are going to be flying in, whether they're getting private planes or whether they were intending to take charter planes, clearly the flow of people in and out of that country, they're going to have to find other ways to get there.
Nearly 200 people on that American Airlines flight that had been scheduled to leave, but it hasn't left Port-au-Prince. Deborah Farrick, stand by. Michael Holmes is over at the CNN Center right now. He's monitoring all of our coverage of this. So what's the latest information coming in, Michael?
Yeah, Wolf, you're across all the latest stuff. I'll give you a sense of what we're doing here, though. This is the international desk. This is the engine room of our coverage when a story like this breaks. All of these people, most of them are probably due to go home. They're all staying here now, trying to get crews together, trying to get CNN's coverage on the ground there. We're talking about different ways of getting into Haiti through the Dominican Republic. There's a lot of options on the table. We've got a little meeting going on behind us there with our directors of coverage trying to organise things. I'm going to actually move my way through there. James, follow me, because with me, I'm also told that there's a lot of eye reports starting to come in, and we're going to be informing you of those when we get them. In the meantime, Wolf, Edwige Jean-Francois is a CNN international producer. Guess what? Born in Haiti, and you've got family there. Tell us what you've been hearing.
Absolutely. I'm very thankful that my mother, she's all right. She's actually in New York with our family, but I did speak to a family member who said that she was at a government building and the building began to shake, and she saw a lot of devastation around her. Says that actually saw dead bodies and blood actually splattered on her, but she was unharmed. She was traveling back, making her way to the home. Doesn't know whether there's been any kind of damage to the home, but she did say that it's very devastating. I also spoke to someone who's a friend of mine who's closer to where the Capitol building is, and he said a number of the old buildings, a number of the infrastructure has been completely decimated, and that it's a very dire situation.
Because, of course, it is an impoverished country. The building standard's not particularly good in parts of the capital, let alone outlying areas.
Absolutely, which is what makes this so critical, because as many people know, Haiti is a poor country, and the infrastructure is not what it ought to be. So this is definitely going to compound the issues that the country has been experiencing. And earlier I heard that there's a potential for tsunami waves. I don't know whether that's still current information, but if that happens, of course, we can all remember what happened in Indonesia. For Haiti, that would be even more compounded and more devastating.
I think the chief risk of that has passed, but you're being told firsthand. Now, the person you spoke to on the phone actually saw bodies as well.
Oh, yeah. 2 people I spoke to saw bodies. These are people very close to me, one a family member, and I'm very familiar with Haiti. I was born there. I grew up principally in New York, but I go there often, and I can tell you that this is really going to be very devastating for the country and Port-au-Prince, the city in particular.
And what were you told in a secondhand sense, if you like, about the moment it struck?
I think the person I spoke to was in complete shock. I mean, you're standing in a building, the next thing you know, it's shaking, and obviously the initial shock of it and realizing what's happening, and to actually have blood splattered on you, I can't even imagine what that experience must be. Yeah, she said blood splattered on me, and I'm okay, but still trying to see whether I'm okay. So it's obviously a personal story for me as well. Like I said, so far, from the contacts I've made, my immediate family, from what I know, is fine. But I'm sure this is something that will impact me in some measure through friends or associates who I know who live and work in Haiti.
Yeah, well, we're going to try to get you down there too. Edwige Jean-Francois, a CNNI producer there, Wolf. As I said, we're trying to get Edwige down there in a professional and personal sense as well, and everybody here working the phones to get the rest of our crews mobilized. I was just hearing that one of our crews in Miami already packing gear and to try to get in through the Dominican Republic. There's some other options too. In fact, I'm just going to pull a quick one here. Roger Clark is our director of coverage. Doesn't know I'm going to do this. How's it looking in terms of pulling it all together?
Well, it's coming together. It's a bit of a slow process because I think you've been talking to Edwige about the situation in Haiti itself, and just getting in there is really tough at the moment. So we're looking now at flights to the Dominican Republic, and we're also looking at flights to possibly Port-au-Prince, but we don't know whether the airport's been damaged or not. So that's what we're trying to do at the moment.
I'll let you get back to work. Roger Clark there. So, Wolf, there's the latest from the international desk. They got their finger on it here, I can tell you.
Yeah, well, everybody's going to be working overtime on this, as they should. This is a huge story. Michael Holmes, stand by. We are also learning right now that the tsunami watch, the good news has been canceled. Chad Myers, explain what we are hearing about the tsunami watch.
Except for Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, the tsunami watch is done for the rest of the Caribbean. They did feel and experience in Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic a 12 centimeters tsunami. Now you don't think of that being important, and it probably isn't unless that gets into a bay or like Crescent City, California, where 12 centimeters out by the reef can actually be a couple of feet inland. But that is not happening so far. And if you have a 1-foot tsunami, that certainly doesn't do anything except maybe if you're right on the shore. And so far, no reports of any damage from a 12 centimeter, which about a foot by the time you go trough to ridge. Not very big at all.
Yeah, a little bit of silver lining there, but a lot of devastating news. Also, just coming in right now, hearing a lot of reports of people screaming and crying out for assistance as night falls in Port-au-Prince and elsewhere in Haiti. Tom Foreman is watching what's going on. What are you picking up, Tom?
Hi, Wolf. As you're pointing out there, the real thing that we're missing right now is quality information from what's really happening at the heart of it. I want to give you a little point of reference here. This area out here is believed to have had, over the past 500 years, about a dozen earthquakes of this magnitude. To give you a sense of what they might do also over in Central America, there's one in 1985 on this coast of Mexico here, claimed about 9,000 lives. There was one down here in El Salvador in 1986, about 1,500 lives. In both cases, however, about 100,000 people left homeless. Down here is Panama, where we talked about some of the relief possibly coming in here to Haiti, Jamaica over here, Puerto Rico over here. But let's zoom in a little bit closer and talk about what we do know about the strike area and how that potentially affects everyone. We know it hit out here 10 to 14 miles from Port-au-Prince proper. We've heard many reports from people saying that the palace was damaged. So we move right in here, and I'll give you a sense of where that is. We talked about the airport. The airport is just up to the north here. You move down south here, and you get to the palace itself. We've heard a lot of reports that this area is damaged. We've also heard reports about an area that people call Pétionville. Pétionville, if we move in a little bit closer, it'll take me a moment to get it all located, is right out here. This is an area where many people who work with the UN or diplomats, foreign visitors may live or stay while they're here. So that gives us a sense. Right here is Pétionville. Here is the palace. We're talking about damage then here and here, so presumably you also have damage all through here. And I want to move in and show you the density here, Wolf. We've been talking about it a lot. But I just want you to look at the density of the housing here. This is a country of some 8.5, 9 million people, anywhere of 70 to 80% of whom live below the poverty level to begin with. So many of these homes are going to be of a very weak construction, a lot of people packed in, plus more than 50% of the country lives in urban areas, even though it's largely agriculture in terms of their income. As I pointed out, there's not much income, so you have a tremendous number of people living in very poor conditions, very packed together, sometimes much more than in other areas. That's what we're going to be looking at, and I'll assure you, Wolf, some of the poorest areas of town is what you're going to be looking at the most for damage, because that's where you'll have the most people in the smallest buildings, least able to stand up to all of this, Wolf. So we'll just have to see as it all adds up here what we're actually talking about. But again, the palace right over in this area, the hospital we're talking about, the downtown one is here, but then there's another one out here at Pétionville. We'll keep an eye on it, Wolf.
Yeah, that one hospital certainly not going to be enough to deal with this crisis that's unfolding. And Tom, the last estimate of the population of Haiti, we're just getting it in, was almost 10 million people, 9,780,064, 54% of them living in abject poverty, and so many others in poverty as well. We have a resident of Port-au-Prince on the phone. I think your name is Linda. Is that right, Linda? Linda, can you hear me? We had Linda. Unfortunately, the communications, as you can tell, is very, very difficult. Difficult to establish communications with folks in Port-au-Prince or elsewhere in Haiti right now. It's an awful situation. Earlier, I spoke with Haiti's ambassador to the United States here in Washington, Raymond Joseph. This is what he told me about his conversations with officials back in Port-au-Prince.
I am just heartbroken because I just spoke to the Secretary General to the presidency, Mr. Fritz Longchamp. He's the only one I've been able to reach on his cell phone, and because he was on the streets, and he said he was going from Port-au-Prince to the Pétionville area, that's toward the east, and he had to stop his car just about half an hour ago and take to the street, start walking. But he said houses were crumbling on the right side of the street, on the left side of the street. And he does not know whether he would reach his home, not knowing what he would find, because he had a bridge to cross to get there. He said it is a catastrophe of major proportions.
Heartbreaking situation unfolding in the streets of Port-au-Prince, the hills surrounding the Haitian capital, indeed that entire country spreading out to a neighboring Dominican Republic. They share this island in the Caribbean. The President of the United States, President Obama, issued a statement just a little while ago saying, "My thoughts and prayers go out to those who have been affected by this earthquake. We are closely monitoring the situation, and we stand ready to assist the people of Haiti." The U.S. government getting ready to come to assistance as quickly as possible. The U.S. military's Southern Command is on the situation right now. They're working to coordinate with USAID emergency assistance to the people of Haiti. They will need assistance under the best of circumstances. Haiti is the most impoverished, poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. We're talking about nearly 10 million people who have been affected by